right now we're on our tech talk, overcoming hybrid cloud management challenges, which we are looking at, talking about the hybrid cloud growth, the key challenges, a phased approach for effective management of hybrid cloud, key building blocks, Happiest Mind success stories, and the Happiest Minds cloud services portfolio. Well, for this, we're joined by our speaker, our eminent speaker, Girish Chandangoudar, the Vice President, Head of Infrastructure Management Service, Happiest Mind Technologies India. Well, Girish has over 25 years of experience in telecom and enterprise IT services, spanning internet services, network operations, system integration, managed services, infrastructure designs, and architecture and technical pre-sales. He's currently a part of the Infrastructure Management and Security Services business unit in the Happiest Mind Technologies Private Limited. Thank you so much, Girish, for joining us today at the World Cloud Show. With this, I'd request you to join us on the stage and screen with the video on and unmuting yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at the World Cloud Show, and right now we're joined by Girish. Girish, over to you.
Thank you, Bhavana. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all having a great time at the event. I will take you through challenges of hybrid cloud and how to overcome them. And if time permits, I'll go into the case studies. With that, let me start my presentation.
Sure, Girish. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, I hope you're all able to see the presentation.
Yes, Girish, just in the presentation mode. We're awaiting. Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. All right, let me take you quickly through the agenda here. Idea is to establish the rise of the hybrid cloud over the last 20 years, and then establish the challenges that enterprises are facing and how to overcome them with a phased approach, and go over some of the key building blocks. And I will take you through some of the case studies, and also leave you with some of the high-level overview of our services portfolio. Now, when we talk about hybrid cloud, it's roughly 20-year journey that what we have seen in the industry. Virtualization platforms started in the early 2000s, and public cloud services were started somewhere in the mid to later part of the 2000s. The initial adoption was quite low. Obviously, the enterprises were experimenting with cloud, whether it was development, testing activities, hosting non-critical applications, and so on. And also, there was a somewhat lack of enterprise-grade application support on public cloud. But at the same time, the virtualization platforms, such as server virtualization, were going through significant changes, and they were maturing very quickly, right? So from the early experimental stage, dating 2010, early 2000s to 2010, what we saw was a critical mass adoption between 2010 and 2015, when we saw a lift and shift type of cloud migrations taking shape, and also public cloud was ready for hosting enterprise-grade applications. At the same time, we also saw maturing of private cloud platforms such as VMware or for example, even OpenStack, which is more on the open source type of a platform, right? We saw all of that in the first 5 years of the 2010s, and also a robust cloud ecosystem, marketplace and an ecosystem building up around hyperscale operators like AWS and Azure and Google and many others. Now, over the last 5 to 6 years, what we are really seeing is that enterprises are choosing to go with best of breed approaches when they select cloud services. This is purely to avoid lock-in, and also to get the best services out of the cloud, right? And also, many of the new developments, especially the new platforms and enterprise applications, are being built using microservices and serverless to build an application architecture. And this is a growing trend, and along with the DevOps, DevSecOps, and so on, we are seeing a rapid rise of enterprises adopting cloud to build those cloud native applications. But at the same time, we also saw some of the early movers into the cloud space trying to repatriate some of the cloud workloads that had moved out of their data center into the public cloud, but some of them were coming back purely for the reason of cost and management complexity, and perhaps some of them were concerned about data localization and others, right? And what has happened over the last 1 year? Again, we have seen, as a service provider, a rapid acceleration towards cloud adoption triggered by a pandemic, because cloud is seen as a place where you can it allows you to consume resources in a flexible manner. It provides you the needed agility. And we believe with this trend, a lot of organizations are just accelerating their digital transformation as we move forward. Now, the main question here, how do you define hybrid cloud? When you have your applications running in your private data center, and some of the applications either in one or more of the public clouds, that creates a hybrid cloud infrastructure. That's the definition I'm going with. And moving on to the challenges. I covered the rise of the hybrid cloud, but what are the main challenges in managing such a hybrid cloud infrastructure where part of your application workloads run in private infrastructure, some of them are in public. Predominantly, there are 5 main challenges that we have seen. The first one is obviously the siloed tool sets and processes. Public cloud operators have their own sets of tools for monitoring and management, while most of us, especially in the enterprise area, are accustomed to managing with fairly robust set of tools, but many times they don't interwork, they don't interoperate. That's one of the main challenges. And some of the processes that enterprises have set up to manage the private infrastructure is quite different, probably because of, as compared to a cloud infrastructure, probably because of skills and the way the whole applications operate on a cloud as compared to a private data center, right? So that's one of the main challenges. And then the cost and capacity management. When you start operating your workloads on cloud at a scale, cost is quite significant. While the public cloud gives you agility and flexibility, cost can be a significant factor. So managing that cost through continuous capacity monitoring and optimization is a key challenge. And IDC, Flexera, for example, reported about 30% of wastage on the cloud, and Gartner estimates about 25 billion is being wasted on cloud, and it's a growing problem. This is no different than over-engineering systems. What we have seen in enterprise area is we do end up over-engineering systems because we want to accommodate growth and some of the spikes that are required during seasons where capacity needs to be augmented. But on cloud, it just translates to a lot of waste, and that cost has to be contained. And governance is also another angle which many of the enterprises struggle with. Who does what, right? Fairly, it is quite clear in a private infrastructure, but that kind of a ratio matrix needs to be established for public cloud consumption, and an operating model for building and running and optimizing a hybrid cloud is a need of the hour. Security and compliance is one of the big issues that many of the adopters face. Here, the key challenge is, what is the responsibility of a cloud services provider versus the responsibility of a cloud consumer? That needs to be very clear. And once we're clear about these boundaries, rest of the compliance requirements, security controls that you set up, the monitoring for threats, mitigation, all of that falls in place. However, a lot of organizations still have gray area about who does what, and that results in a lot of gaps in terms of security controls being established and security being monitored. And the last one, which is very significant, is the rise in operational complexity. What has happened over the years is, we're used to running applications, maybe a 2-tier or a 3-tier application, very well-defined architectures, some of the applications running on physical servers, some on virtual. But when you get into cloud native, what happens is you may end up with mix of VMs, mix of Kubernetes clusters where microservices are running. And also there are PaaS services and SaaS services A combination of this really creates a very complex application flows, and that presents problems for those in charge of production support. It's quite difficult to debug and analyze when things go wrong. And this is primarily due to complexity in application flows and diverse set of tools and platforms being used to build and run applications, right? Now, having established key challenges, let me quickly move over to a phased approach. In our point of view, yes, there are multiple challenges when we create a hybrid IT or a cloud infrastructure, but we can take a methodical approach to overcome such complexities and build business value, right? The first one is, can we standardize services? Any CI organization must standardize services that are offered to IT users, whether it is developers or end users, and so on. So once we establish a service catalog and standardize backend IT operations processes, you end up a fairly standardized environment wherein you can move to the next stage by bringing in advanced analytics tools. And the main advantage of bringing a deep or an analytics tool that can do application dependency mapping, intelligent monitoring of infrastructure and applications, for example, event correlation to reduce noise, provide insights based on the data gathered from various sources, whether it is structured or unstructured. What we see is reduction in the noise in terms of monitoring and managing such a complex infrastructure. And also, we begin to see insights coming in, whether it is capacity optimization or assets that are being managed, or it is just a simple reduction in terms of mean time to MTTR, mean time to resolution of incidents whenever they do occur, right? So it gives us enough data points to build upon automation use cases. As we move through this maturity model, you standardize the environment, you bring in analytics, you get insights. Now you're ready to do a lot of automation. Whether it is to empower your end users by building self-service portals, or you want to automate some of the simple tasks, such whenever things go wrong, self-healing, for example, or auto-healing, or task automation. Those can be deployed using automation action handlers. And also, if you're on a DevOps journey, DevOps or DevSecOps integration plays a key role in further optimizing the infrastructure. Now, if you've done all these, in our point of view, the last one is IT consumerization, which really is about building an e-commerce type of a look and feel for the way the IT services are consumed by IT users in your organization, right? And what we're really talking about here is a cloud management platform. You can integrate your private and public clouds, which are operating together, a multi-cloud or hybrid cloud integration. You can build cloud brokerage services, aggregation services when you consume services across clouds. If you are interested in billing, metering, showback, and those sorts of arrangements with your business units or users, you can build those capabilities in your cloud management platform, and you can establish a clear governance model for a complex infrastructure, right? So these are some of the benefits, and obviously the complexity is there. Once you start from standardization, move all the way to consumerization, the complexity level really increases, but it does deliver better business value. Now, I talked about a phased approach. Now, when we look at key building blocks in terms of maturing and securing hybrid cloud, there are different buckets. Different organizations are at different maturity curve. For an organization worried about visibility or loss of visibility, rather, when you really consume cloud services in a partial manner, many of the applications running in-house, unified IT monitoring can be a way to strengthen your management, monitoring and management, and get better visibility. Organizations that are heavy, which are quite dynamic, and they have a lot of aggressive release cycles for applications, they can probably focus on helping development teams to ensure that infrastructure is created, provisioned, deprovisioned, pretty much on demand, and enabling developers becomes a priority. So you can go on that path. Organizations that want to look at cost containment, there are enough tools in the market that can be deployed, integrated into your management framework to get continuous visibility into your costs. You can also figure out how to do billing and metering using the same tools. Many of these are cloud native, they're API driven, and they give you continuous capacity optimization and continuous cost optimization as well. And security and compliance is obviously a journey. You can start with your infrastructure, security, move on to applications, and then you can look at compliance and governance from a security angle. And many of the clouds today, they have their own tools for monitoring not just infrastructure and applications, but security in their own ecosystem. What we have seen is many of the organizations end up managing multiple tools even in security monitoring. But this market is also maturing. So if we can integrate these different data sources from cloud and integrate them into your security, SIM tool managed by your SOC team, that's another way to strengthen security posture. And reporting analytics is another area. Because of the complexity or multitude of tools, it is very important to create right level of dashboards for CXOs, the admins, in terms of the information they need to get. And for example, a service manager may look at availability and performance. On the other hand, as CEO, maybe looking at different metrics in terms of where the hybrid cloud is, cost, for example, availability, overall performance, and so on, right? So these are all possible through some of the advanced analytics tools today. With this, let me take you through some of the case studies. The top left one is actually a specialty retailer in North America. As a customer of Happiest Minds, we were engaged with that client to do an assessment and migration of the workloads running in their legacy data center, move about 70 to 80% of them to Google Cloud. That happened over a period of about 2 quarters. Once we migrated successfully, we got into the BAU part of it, the operations part of it, but also we helped solve one of the biggest problems they were facing. The cloud consumption was a huge issue. We established the baseline for an optimal performance using continuous capacity monitoring, capacity optimization, and we were able to show about 20% reduction in cloud cost. Happiest Minds has its own platform called Ellipse for monitoring, managing, and optimizing cloud. And that's what we brought in this case, to not only to run operations, but to optimize cloud spend as well. The top right one is for a global retailer, luxury and antique watches. They're a global organization, but the challenge was they had multiple applications running in different clouds. They also had an on-premise data center. We did consolidation of all their multi-cloud environment onto AWS. Then we optimized on-prem data center. And our platform engineering team helped design and deploy a blockchain-enabled e-commerce platform, and which had linkages to Salesforce. So it truly was a multi-cloud environment from a customer-facing systems perspective, but they also had many backend applications running on-premise. So in this hybrid cloud environment, we're able to show about 35% cost optimization through capacity planning and using our platform, Ellipse platform, to do the same thing. The e-commerce platform really helped them gain trust of the customers as it was enabled through blockchain. And we had deployed cloud native architecture, which meant faster release cycles, faster GTM for the customer, right? And the third case study I wanted to touch upon is for a leading telecom services provider in India. They're one of the largest in the world, actually, in terms of the clients they support, clients they have, end users they have. And this is for their corporate IT. They have Azure cloud, and they have multiple data centers that they manage for corporate applications. They wanted to accelerate their enterprise applications. And they had all the ingredients in place. They had Azure DevOps. They had a data center built on VMware. So we looked at it and we built a roadmap for software-defined data center leveraging VMware. And then we also did an integration between the on-prem data center and the cloud. We helped them on the automation journey by building self-service catalogs and completely automating infrastructure provisioning and deprovisioning, which enabled their development teams to deploy applications and achieve overcome one of the main challenges of having to wait for days for VM provisioning to just few hours, right? The last case study I have is for a nonprofit organization in US that provides education services. They had a classic setup, couple of applications running on-prem. Many of them were in SaaS model, some of the business apps for them, but it was not optimal. We did an assessment. We helped consolidate and optimize hosted data center for them. Some of the workloads which were ready to move to public cloud, we helped them move, in this case to Azure. And also we brought in highly optimized infrastructure management coupled with integrated with security services. This helped them with the reduction in operational spend by about 30%. And through our platform, we were able to give them near real-time dashboards in terms of service level metrics, asset intelligence, and also the cost in terms of what kind of cost they were incurring on the cloud services. All right, and finally, just wanted to highlight a few of the cloud services that Happiest Minds has. Happiest Minds has end-to-end services in cloud space that covers from product design, platform engineering services, application development, application modernization, application maintenance on one side. But on the other side, we have a full stack of cloud infrastructure services from consulting to design, build, and migration, as well as cloud security offerings. Yeah. So that brings an end to my presentation. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them, or you can reach me. And then we also, and don't forget to visit our booth, Happiest Minds booth, if you need more information or cloud services.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Girish. Well, in interest of time, since we have our upcoming speakers already joined in, we just like to really thank you for giving us your precious time at the World Cloud Show. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Girish.